One man is being victimized by our own government. One man whom they fear, yet whom millions love. One man who is willing to take the poison arrows of lawfare. One man whose voice has been taken away by a corrupt judge operating in a corrupt system. One man who has been ridiculed and insulted. One man who refused to back down. One man who refused to back down. One man who refused to back down. One man who stands between us and them. One man that wants to see America protected again. One man who wants to see America prosper again. One man who understands that a man is a man and a woman is a woman. One man who understands and protects the blessing of life. One man who wants to restore American exceptionalism. One man who once again wants to make America that shining city on a hill for all to see. A place where all the people of the world glowingly set their eyes upon. America. One man who unashamedly wants to make America great again. That one man is Donald Trump.
This is Fanfare with Barry Cunningham.
You are effectively denying people vaccines.
We're not going to recommend a product for which there's no clinical data for that indication. Is that what I should be doing?
What you should be doing is honoring your promise that you made when you were looking to get confirmed in this job.
You're going like this.
And that is, you promised that you would not take away vaccines from anyone who wanted them. You just changed the classification of the COVID vaccine.
I'm not taking them away from people, Senator.
It takes it away if you can't get it from your pharmacist.
Well, most Americans are going to be able to get it from their pharmacy for free. Most Americans will be able to get it from their pharmacy for free.
The question is, everyone who wants it, that was your promise.
No, I didn't. I never promised that I was going to recommend products with which there is no indication.
When you said...
And I know you've taken $855,000 from pharmaceutical companies, Senator.
Did you hold up a big sign saying that you were lying when you said that? Because you are the one who said you would not take them away. Now, Senator Kennedy...
I'm not taking them away from anybody.
Secretary... You
want me to indicate a product for which there is no clinical data?
Senator,
is that what you want?
Secretary Kennedy, you said you wouldn't, and now you did.
I'm not taking them away. Everybody can get access to them.
No, they can't walk into a pharmacy the way they could last month and get access to
It depends on the states.
A year ago,
but they can still get it. Everybody can get it. Everybody can get it, Senator.
So look, let's move on. You clearly are taking away vaccines. I've seen the list for what's coming up next. And
put a hold on Biden nominees because I was getting jerked around by your bureaucracy. I'd like it to end and get some progress.
Yeah, Senator, you raised this during my confirmation hearing, and I said to you then, and you were very civil. You raised something that makes a lot of sense to the extent that we have the power to fix it at CMS. I'd like to do it. We've had the same kind of complaints from Vermont. But I said to you at that time, call me and let's come talk about this. You have my cell phone. You can call me anytime. I've never heard from you in 7 months. Call me up. I'd love to meet with you. I'll get Oz in the meeting, and what you're saying, particularly about at the end of life, it may be something we can do something about. I want to help, and let me know.
We'll try. Forgive my frustration. You've got 30,000 employees. They could have reached out to me. They know where I live.
Yes. Is Mr. Dyer a doctor?
No.
Did you know he never went to medical school?
He's not practicing medicine.
Did you know that he got caught in Maryland and was charged for practicing medicine without a medical license?
He was charged by a medical board. He sued the medical board, and the medical board was found to have acted in actual malice and was fined $2.6 million by a judge in Maryland for doing that.
See, so you choose to know a lot when you want to know a lot. It's incredible, Mr. Kennedy.
Senator, you're ridiculous.
So here's the question.
Okay, you were already president, you got $1.5 billion behind it. You received $300,000 from people, not from the industry, people in it, as I did, from individuals. You corrupt. President Trump got $3 million. Every Republican got corporate PAC money for the pharmaceutical industry. Democrats as well. Everybody is corrupt, but you? Is that what we're looking at? I don't think so. And I think the issue now...
I don't even know what you're talking about.
Well, I think you do know what I'm talking about.
I don't know what you're talking about.
The issue is every time anyone disagrees with you...
Are you saying the pharmaceutical industry was supporting my presidential campaign?
I'm saying,
I don't think so.
I'm not saying that. I'm saying that the pharmaceutical industry is a greedy institution which is charging us the highest prices in the world. They are pervasive. But to suggest that every institution, the AMA, the pediatrics people, is corrupt because they disagree with you is an insult to
It's not,
American
listen, people disagree with me all the time. I have arguments in my agency, heated arguments every day with Jay Bhattacharya, with Marty McCary, with Dr. Oz.
You have given the names of a few.
The gunman expressed discontent with the COVID vaccine and, quote, wanted to make the public aware of his distrust of the vaccines. Secretary Kennedy, I assume you are aware of these disturbing reports of the gunman's motives?
Listen
Yes.
to this.
And, I understand that some people may have concerns.
Yeah, y'all need to listen to this. This is a good one here. Oh, yeah, I love this one.
About new medical breakthroughs, but those people don't have the world's top medical experts working under them. You've been over HHS for 7 months now. Have you ever been briefed by CDC's career immunization officials to discuss your concerns?
And by the way, every member of this panel has criticized President Trump and demonized him.
Have you ever
Are
been
you
briefed?
complicit in the assassination attempts on President Trump?
Sir.
You brought it up, bro. Are you complicit in the assassination attempt on President Trump? On national television, everybody who was watching this fiasco saw that, in which, by the way, he obviously didn't answer. See, this isn't about a hearing. This is a talking. It is a scream fest. It's not a hear. I don't care what you have to say. I got my 5 minutes on television, and that's all I want to do. I want to let people know what I have to say, and I'm never really going to say, ask a question. I'm just going to spit at you. But unfortunately for them, somebody was willing to spit back. This isn't like what we've seen in any administration. And I'm telling you right now, even as we speak here, there are certain words I can't say. You're not allowed to say that C word. Oh, it's too controversial. Don't say the C word. That's why we have to say jabademic. The bots can't pick that up, so we say jabademic instead of the C word. And so here they are having this thing, and the Democrats are absolutely melting down. If you didn't see it, I mean, we can. I've got probably a bunch more to show you. We can go back and forth. But all you missed was screaming, kvetching, whining. Trump did this, RFK Jr. did that, you're firing this person, you're putting the world in jeopardy, all because of their agonal breathing. I keep bringing that up to you. Well, piece by piece, we've watched President Trump absolutely destroy these people. Nothing, well, next to nothing that happened during that jammademic time that we all had to live through had any science, real science, associated with it. I think one of the lines that RFK Jr. said was, you used science establishment, but not the establishment of the science, meaning it was all conjecture. Stay this far away. Do this, and even in your own car or on the beach, make sure you do this. You can't see your loved ones. You can't do this. You can't do that. Don't touch the fruit. Whatever you do, don't do this. They had no flipping clue. None. It was all a mirage. And during that mirage, a lot of people got really stinking rich, or richer, how you may want to look at it. And so as I'm watching this thing, I'm watching it, and that's why I put at the bottom here, Deep State Nightmare. See, with USAID and all these other things being cut, now Trump is going after big pharma, big medical, big insurance, big fraud politicians, and this was their chance to come after RFK Jr., which they did. There was no science behind you can't go to church, but you could go to the liquor store. There was no science between, let's go to a restaurant and you can do this and eat and then put the mask back down, because the mask somehow knew, when you were chewing versus when you were talking. This bad. This okay. This bad. This okay. How did it know? How did the magical thing in the air know when you were doing this versus when you were doing this? That's one hell of a smart thing that's floating around out there. But unfortunately, so many people on the left couldn't wait to buy into this. They're still doing it with jab after jab after jab after jab. And so all they did, especially down here in Florida, thank you, Ron DeSantis, they didn't do away with the jabs. If you want it, you can have it. All they did away with was the mandate. They're going to make it state by state by state. Ron DeSantis came out and said all jabs, including the ones they gave to kids, all of them are voluntary. The parent can decide what the kid is going to be jabbed with. No longer is the state and government going to say, stick that in your kid's arm. Not going to happen. And these people are freaking out. Hundreds of thousands, millions have been given to these people to hold up the mantle of big pharma, big medical, and big insurance. That's a ton of money. The one thing Bernie was right was that it's on both sides. They all have sucked on at that trough. They all went to that buffet, and they've taken money. And when you take that money, something is expected of you. And they dutifully did what they were supposed to until Trump came in. And Trump's like, no, no, and no. And now they don't know what to do whatsoever. The entirety of the Maha movement is destroying this aspect of funds. The laundering is finding very, very tough, narrow places to go through. And they don't like it. They want it to stop. They actually want this guy fired, as if that's ever going to happen. And obviously, as you've seen in a number of these hearings, the Trump administration is taking no shit. Excuse my language. No, don't excuse it, because that's exactly what they're doing. They're not taking any shit. You, Senator, you get the finger. You get some. Anybody else want some? Oh, by the way, were you complicit in the assassination attempt? What's that have to do with anything except for the fact you opened the door? And you didn't like that door, so you slammed it shut very, very quickly. there is a sickness, a complete virus, if you will, with the Democrats and people on the left. They want government overseeing all aspects of your life. Tim Kaine today said, no, you are not endowed with inalienable rights from your creator. Government gives you those rights. People are like, did you just really say that? He actually said that today. You are not endowed with any inalienable rights. Funny. I'm pretty sure it's written in some document we used to follow. Crazy. Let's continue.
Asking the questions, you are the witness. It's a simple yes or no question. Have you ever been briefed by CDC's career immunization officials to discuss their concerns?
Yes, I have.
What was the answer?
Yes.
For breaking the logjam of information of HHS. My committee's got now over 8 million pages of information. Just in the first tranche, by the way, what we discovered is that CDC, somebody in the federal health agencies, this interagency communication, hid the signal. They admitted there was a signal on myocarditis, and they hid it. They didn't warn the public. They didn't warn doctors. So that's just one instance of corruption and lies told by the CDC. We've got a lot of others we'll be rolling out, okay? So we held our first...
If it was up to me, the CDC would be no more. I think we've seen enough over the last 4 or 5 years where we can say, this is a clown act. This is merely an enforcement vehicle for the deep state. We're going to make you stay in your house. We're going to make you wear this. We're going to make you separate. We're going to make you not be able to see your relatives if they get sick. I think they sat back and went, you know what? If we can make them do this, we can make them do anything. How many times have you seen the videos where the people on stage, right before the congressmen would go out, they'd be talking to each other and go, oh, and then they'd put it on. But over there, I guess the thing didn't know that that was a safe space. And then they'd walk out and they'd, so how you doing today? Yeah, how you doing today? It was all a big joke on the American people, perpetrated by the CDC. And now we're talking about myocarditis, and it's third rail stuff. They don't want you talking to people about it. Don't want you to talk about that. Did people actually take the death jab? There's enough out there for people to really wonder, was it an infection instead of helping people? You know, there's people out there who said, hey, when they stick that thing up your nose, you don't even know what's on the other end of that. I can probably say neither Robin or I, despite the amount of pissed off family members, we're like, nope, not going to do it. We've got all kinds of vitamin D here. We've got the ocean. We've got a pool full of chlorine. And we're okay. We're okay. We got these 2 little dogs. We're good. And what did I get? A couple sniffles. She had the sniffles. And other than that, it didn't take anything. And we refused to even let them stick that stick up our face. Nope, ain't doing it. Somehow, me obviously, having been in what they considered a high-risk category, well, we came through it pretty good. How do you explain that? In one of the most populated areas of the country, went to grocery stores, went to church, went to the beach, went to restaurants, went to events, because Florida was open. How do you explain it? Are we just lucky? I remember when we had family members come down here, or friends, and they'd get off the plane looking like this, and they would look around. Nobody? Nope. Nobody's wearing it? Nope. You sure? Nope. And I remember one of Robin's relatives came down, and we got her in a car, and we're driving off the airport, and, you know, unload, and she's like, I can't wait to see the beach. Can you take me over to see the beach? And we're like, they're going to love this one. Wait till you get out the car. They're going to know you ain't from around here. And so we drop her off so she can go do she had to walk the beach first. And when we dropped her off, she was like this. And when we picked her up, yeah, it was gone. And we asked her, what happened to your your diaper, your face diaper? Where'd it go? I guess you guys don't do that down here. Nope, nope. It's a true story. We laughed all the way.
Information blocking.
The committee will come to order.
That is a cult. That is someone who believes in all this stuff religiously. You see, everything that they stand for, or we're told to stand for, is all falling by the wayside. By the time I'm off this show, the truck should be rolling in Chicago. It's coming. It's imminent. I mean, minutes. It's already been staged at the Air Force Base, or Naval Base rather, and I've seen the pictures and seen the drones. They've got hundreds of people there ready to hit the streets. It's about to happen. So there's another aspect of their cult Burning Man mindset that's going to fall by the wayside. And what's funny is the person that they had to hustle out of there, who was pissed off at Rfkjr Jr., I guess she wasn't facing the panel. Because nobody on the panel had a face diaper on either, including the Democrats, including the same people who are screaming about, we got to get more jabs. Well, if we got to get more jabs and it's still a problem, why the hell are you not wearing a face diaper? Yet these people who are terrified or just complete bat poop crazy, they're, we got to fight, we got to keep fighting, we got to keep fighting. Dude, live your life. Why are you bothering us? Live your life. We're done with that. We're not playing that anymore. That game's way over. And it's never coming back. That genie is never getting put back in a bottle. You will have a rebellion. You are never going to make people do that. You might as well try to take guns at that point. You might be more successful trying to take guns from people than expecting people to be this far apart and having this and taking that. Not going to happen.
I apologize to you for that outburst, Secretary Kennedy. I would notify everyone else.
By the way, those were some big black guys, weren't they? Yeah. I guess you can't call them racist. Those big black guys stood up and were ready to do damage if you mess with Rfkjr Jr. We can't wait to see what Al Sharpton has to say about them. How can you? How can you be guarding him? Yeah. It's all bull.
In the audience, comments from the audience are inappropriate. If there are any further disruptions, the committee will recess until the police can restore order. Mr. Secretary, please proceed.
This morning, I got the latest numbers from CDC that 76.4% of Americans now have a chronic disease. This is stunning. When my uncle was president, it was 11%. 1950, it was 3%. Today, it's 76.4%. 80.
All right, so those of you who are not strong in math, that's impossible. It is the same type of thing, I mean almost the exact same type of graph as we look at what's happening with trans people. It goes this way and all of a sudden, bam! Like, how did that happen? How did all these people just one day wake up and go, you know what? I don't want to be me. And then the LGBT, bam! They just woke up one day and all these people decided they wanted to be with somebody. And then the same thing with diseases. Everything's fine. Bam! So if you overlaid all those maps and put them on top of each other, why do they all look like that? Have any of you even thought that? Why do all the graphs look like hockey sticks? You know, hockey stick, the hockey stick looks like this. You got the blade, and then you get the stick part. And all these graphs, when people are looking at them and overlaying them, they look like hockey sticks. Steady, bam. Steady, bam. Steady, bam. Election night, steady, bam. Why are people getting used to these stats as if they could potentially be normal when there's no statistical way that could be? People couldn't all of a sudden be getting chronically unhealthy. They couldn't automatically just out of the blue become, light in the loafers. They can't all of a sudden out of the blue decide, hey, let's cut off my junk and give me a fake, butterfly thingy. How does that happen? Well, the only answer to that, realistically, not something you hear on MSNBC, is that there has had to have been something inserted into Americans' lives. There is no possible way that could be real. It just can't be. So I don't know what's going on. I'm going to pause with the Rfkjr stuff because I've got Kevin Demerit from Lear Capital coming up, and I will be right back. I see him in the green room, which I call it. And so when we get back, we're going to get your questions together about gold and silver and, those type of investment vehicles. I have a bunch of questions as well, and he and I are going to talk right after this.
Back to Fanfare with Barry Cunningham.
All right, everybody, I've got Kevin Demerit from Lear Capital, and there's a lot of things happening in the financial markets, everything with the tariffs. I see that Letitia James now wants to sue to try and get that $500 million put back on President Trump. I'm reading stuff which we'll go over with Kevin, that the gold market is about to explode. And I know you guys know they're a partner in the show, but the information that Kevin and I discuss can actually help you with your portfolio, or even if you're beginning as well. So let me bring on Kevin. Kevin, you there? Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Thanks for having me, Barry.
Perfect. Yeah, a lot of people, when I get you on here to ask questions, they always have a lot of questions. And let's just get the first one right off the bat. I had a lady who sent me an email and said, can I buy gold or silver with a credit card? I've had people again talk about the minimum buy-in. Let's move that off the table so people who want to hear that, and then we can get into all the rest of the stuff.
Sure. Yes, you can use a credit card for certain types of metals. On certain metals, we have to charge a fee. So if you're okay paying the fee, then no problem, with a credit card, because we get charged 2.5% to 3%, and some of our products don't even have that as a fee. So if everybody's okay with that, not a problem. As far as the minimum, 5,000 and above, our representatives can help you with. Below that, the fee that we charge to have a little bit of advice about the precious metals market, help you through the paperwork if you're talking about an IRA or something like that, just isn't justified. So I would recommend people go to the website for under $5,000 where you don't have to pay the additional fee to talk to a representative, and you're going to get the same metal just at a better price.
Is there a minimum buy on a website?
The minimum buy on the website, I believe, is $250.
Okay.
So it's fairly low.
All right, so you guys got all that, so we don't have to bog down at the end and going through all the administrative stuff. So, Kevin, a lot of stuff going on, especially with Lisa Cook, and I guess they're waiting on a press conference any day with her. There's supposed to be a September rate cut. Today on CNBC, they're talking about doing 2 or 3 rate cuts possibly. I don't know in what time frame. How does the Federal Reserve lowering their rates affect gold and silver pricing?
Yeah, that's a great question. Barry, when rates drop, the dollar weakens and yields fall. So when you're making less in a bond fund or your CDs, suddenly gold and silver look a lot more attractive because they don't pay interest, but they're increasing obviously much faster than 3 or 4%, especially now. So they're going to become more attractive because the rates have gone down. So think of it as a green light for precious metals to run because of investors hunt for assets that hold value when cash stops paying, the interest at a higher rate.
So when people look at that number or that what would you call it, metric, the yield rate, what are you looking for the lay person who's looking at as an indicator? What should that yield rate do? Right now I think it's about 4.8, 4.9. If it's over 5, if it comes down, is that any indication as to when you should do something?
Well, as rates start coming down, more and more people are going to move over to precious metals just because the metal they don't pay any interest. But when you're looking at the long-term success of it, if you look back 30 or 40 years, you're making much more than 2 or 3, 4 or 5% per year holding the precious metal. But geez, you start getting over 5%, it's easy money. I can get into a 2-year or 10-year government bond that's absolutely guaranteed. I'd much rather be there than have the potential volatility in precious metals. So you start coming below 5 and then getting closer to 4. Everybody wants to switch over. Why am I giving up this percentage increase if the government's going to lower interest rates?
Absolutely.
If I can go into something with a higher interest rate.
I want to give a full disclosure. In addition to being a partner on the show and having Kevin as a partner in Lear Capital, I'm also a customer, an investor. And I have to tell you, since we've been doing stuff with Lear Capital, I had to learn even more than what my dad taught me. But I was even surprised at some of the stuff I was learning and what's been happening. I jumped in, and then I jumped in again about a month ago. And in the last month, both gold and silver are up 5 or 6% already, Kevin. I mean, if people had just think about it, whatever amount you were going to put in, it wasn't guaranteed, but it has gone up 5 or 6%. You called that. What's your call today?
Well, look, it's a pretty easy call. I mean, Forbes magazine came out today, and it gave a historical performances. To provide some context, gold has increased 14-fold since 2000, transforming every $10,000 invested to $140,000 today. It says even more surprising, in its comparative strength over the past 5 years, gold has outperformed the NASDAQ 100, surpassing the world's leading technology companies regarding percentage returns. And when you look at this, Barry, what is driving the gold price? It's not hedge funds, it's central banks. They say it here. In 2024, central banks added 1,200 tons to their reserves. That's half of all the gold pulled out of the ground for that year. It says marking the fastest growth in more than 50 years. China has recorded 16 consecutive months of net gold acquisitions. And not only that, they've increased their purchases month over month, 127% from last month to the prior month. So central banks have more money than all of us because they can print money out of thin air. So if you follow the money, central banks having the most, it's not hard to figure out where the price of gold's going if they all continue to buy, and they're buying half of the gold that comes out of the ground. Then when you add on geopolitical risks, you add on inflation, you add on lower interest rates and all of those kinds of situations, the price of gold, and Goldman Sachs again came out today, the price of gold could be $5,000 an ounce. Here we are at around 3,500, and they're calling for 5,000. There's going to be some ups and downs, but the driver of gold is simple demand. It's just a math equation. If you have more demand on a fixed supply, the price goes up, and that's how we're all coming to the conclusion. I mean, we're not even as high as Goldman Sachs.
Right.
We're anticipating around a $4,500 gold price next year.
So the tariffs seem to be working. seem not to be working, depend on who you talk to. But what would you advise if the tariffs are determined to be legal by the Supreme Court, and what would happen if they're determined not to be legal with the Supreme Court?
I think the markets react differently than I think people expect, because the government debt is growing so large, so fast, that without tariffs, you don't have the 158 billion or whatever's been accumulated so far to help pay down that debt. And if you can't pay down that debt, then you may get another Moody's downgrade, and the markets are going to go absolutely bonkers. Mm-hmm. That's what people don't get, right? Why, if we're not seeing the inflation, wouldn't we want the money to help pay down this government debt? I have no idea, because it is a big problem. The interest on the national debt is now $1 trillion, which is the second largest budget line item, under Medicare and Medicaid,
right,
and Social Security. But it's bigger than the defense budget. It's $1 trillion. So we need some way to pay this debt down, or keep it from growing even higher. And I think without the tariffs, we're going to have a tough time doing that.
Oh, I mean, yeah. So we definitely want those tariffs. I saw this article, actually. It was a post, what's today? Today, from CNBC. Let me see if I can bring it up with you here. Yeah. Investors are dumping bonds globally while gold is soaring. And it says, here's why. And we can actually look at the article, but I'd rather hear what you have to say. Why are they dumping bonds? Is that the same thing you were talking about in referencing the yield?
Yes, but the reason they're dumping those bonds is they're dumping U.S. Treasuries. That's where China is getting the money to buy the gold. So when they say people are doing it, central banks are the biggest part of the people that are doing it. So they have huge amounts of holdings in U.S. Treasuries, like Russia used to. Now they have zero. China has it. Japan has treasuries, and they're selling those treasuries, Barry, and replacing them with gold. Mm-hmm. So why are they doing it? Well, the dollar's down 21% since the year 2020. Mm-hmm. So who wants to hold a treasury that's actually down 20% or so with the value of the dollar? And secondly, they can't figure out where the U.S. government is going to get the money to pay down the deficit. So if the dollar is going to continue to fall, why hold it? They need to replace it with something. So if you have a weakening dollar, you'd want to replace it with something that's the opposite of a weakening dollar, and that's the gold price. And that's why we have record highs in gold and anticipating going much, much higher. Nobody wants to hold paper. They want to hold something that's going to offset the inflation rate or the decrease in the value of the dollar.
And you're actually holding it. Let me show you this. Open fist in this window. Let me shrink it in so people can actually see it. All right. This is, again, on CNBC. It says, a new gold play as investors look to hedge against risk and volatility. Gold has hit a string of record highs this year as investors look to hedge concern around uncertainty and volatility. That's led to continued high inflows into gold ETFs, which present many investors with an easier path to diversify their portfolios. What in the heck is an ETF, and should people be looking at ETFs?
Yeah, that's a great question. Yeah, so an ETF is just an acronym for exchange traded fund, meaning that fund with gold holds some portion of physical gold. Then they hold some contracts in there for the buys and sells that are happening within that fund. Mm-hmm. So ETFs, exchange traded funds with gold, are an easy way for trading exposure, but they are paper promises. So the best way I can explain this to you is if you said, Kevin, I want to own $10,000 worth of gold. And I said, great. Barry, send me your $10,000. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go buy $9,000 worth of gold. I'm going to put 10% or $1,000 in futures contracts so I can just, hedge the position. Mm-hmm. And then I'm going to take the physical gold and I'm going to send it over to Europe because that's where most of the depositories are that hold gold in the exchange traded fund. I'm going to hold that over there for you. And you'd have to ask yourself, do I feel comfortable with that scenario? Because that's what you're doing with an exchange traded fund, right? So most smart investors often use both, quite frankly. They'll say, look, I'll put a little bit in the exchange traded fund, and if gold goes up and down, maybe I can play that market if you're kind of a day trader or you're trading on a weekly basis. But if you're thinking about holding precious metals for a year or longer, which I would highly recommend, then you probably want the physical metal, because there's also depository fees and management fees that are not going to happen with the actual physical gold itself. Obviously, you're holding it, you're managing it yourself. I'm not charging you to do that. So there's a fee to buy and sell, just like an exchange traded fund with us, but then you have the storage fees and
Right.
other fees on top of that for the exchange traded fund.
Plus, you don't have it in your hand, your actual
Correct.
hand. So, speaking of things in your hand, what are all these things we see on TV when they say the gold coin, and you can get it for $39.99? What in the heck is that stuff?
Yeah, so different coins have different values, and some coins are just bullion, so they're worth their melt value. They go up and down with the price of gold. So when the government mints the coin, they take 100 ounce, let's say it was a gold coin, they take a 100 ounce bar, they melt it down, they make round 1 ounce planchets, and then they stamp it, mint it, and that's what you see as an American Eagle. Okay, so that's the premium for the minting charge is about 3.5–4%, somewhere around there, and that's what you're going to pay over the spot price of gold. And then when you sell back, you're going to get some of that premium back. You're going to get 2.5 to 3% of that premium back when you sell. So if the gold price goes up $10, then your coin's basically going up $10. Then you have other coins that carry premiums for rarity, minting, collectability, things like that. And you want to know the difference between those two, so that they do trade at wildly different prices at times, but knowing the difference is the key to not overpaying. Now, do those limited mintage coins with those premiums, do they take away from the fact of, that you're going to make any money? Absolutely not. I can show you chart after chart after chart from PCGS that rare coins and limited mintage coins have outperformed the spot price market by 2.5 to 3 times. So think of a portfolio of these types of issues as you want some bullion in your portfolio. You may want some of the limited mintage coins to get a higher increase and lower volatility in the market. So, it's like calling up your broker and saying, hey, I have $10,000 to invest. He goes, just buy IBM. You'd probably think to yourself, that's not the best idea. Same thing here. How do you put a portfolio together so that you're maximizing the profit and reducing risk? And so there are different coins, and we kind of explain each one of those to people so they understand, what they're getting and what to expect out of each category.
Oh, very well. Last time we talked, we thought we would be close, and it still isn't done. As this Ukraine-Russia thing continues to go on and on, and yet still seeing gold and silver continue to rise, is that going to be less of an effect whether it gets done or not at this point?
Yeah, just about every interview I do, that's the question. And yes, markets hate uncertainty, and wars fuel the safe haven buying. So if peace breaks out, some of that fear premium in the gold could fade. But if you look long term, Barry, you have debt, we have inflation, you have central bank buying, and that keeps the metals in play because they're much stronger forces over the next 3 to 5 years than the Ukraine war. I mean, when the Ukraine war broke out, gold went up. It's gone on so long, I think people just go, hey, look, if it's going or not going, I'm not really sure how it's going to affect global markets. Now, if another war broke out, that could be different, and we try to figure out what happened. But there was an article out last week that said U.S. debt to surge 120% of GDP over the next decade under the newest projections. So every dollar printed, really makes the ones out there less valuable. If the war stops tomorrow, the debt's going to continue, and we need to slow that down. That's going to be the bigger driver for gold, in my opinion.
Great. Now, I saw an article, actually it was a video. I was going to play it, but I'm like, it's 5 minutes long. I don't want to waste your time. But I want to just bring you what was said. And what was said was a, quote, finance expert, George posted this, I don't know who the expert is, just detailed a genius strategy where President Trump might be working to fix the national debt using gold. Word on the streets is that President Trump is going to issue gold-backed treasuries. Is that realistic?
Well, it's all realistic, and it's realistic because we have to compete against BRICS. I mean, BRICS is making more and more progress as trying to overtake the U.S. dollar as the world reserve currency. And so we need to do something to make sure that people rely and appreciate the U.S. dollar, because they're liquidating them. I mean, you just ran the other article talking about central banks selling treasuries and buying gold. So BRICS has come out and said, hey, look, we want to have this currency backed a little bit by gold.
Okay.
So think about what happens. The U.S. government used to do that, and every time they printed money, they also had to go out and buy some percentage of that dollar with gold.
Mm-hmm.
So what does that do? It prohibits you from printing like a madman.
Right.
And that's what we've been doing since 2008. That slows that down, gives countries more confidence in your dollar. So I think what President Trump is talking about here is, how do we get back to the basics in the United States of being the strongest currency and the strongest country in the world? And one of the ways to do that would be to back either treasuries or the dollar by some part of gold, so people have confidence in it.
And then what would happen to the pricing, spot price on a daily basis to people like, me and people in the audience? Would it become more expensive instantly?
Well, I thought I saw the last part, and I thought I saw $15,000, and that's probably about right. If you're going to back the U.S. debt by gold, and you just did some calculations, then you're probably right around that $15,000. I would say that they're going to back a small portion. This is exactly what Russia did when we put, all the restrictions on their currencies. They immediately came out and said, okay, fine, we're going to back some portion of it, and they backed just a tiny piece of their currency with gold, and it absolutely skyrocketed. So I think he's trying to do the same thing. I don't know about 15,000, but I think you could get past the 5,000 that Goldman Sachs is talking about here fairly quickly in the gold market and be, north of 7,500.
So let me ask you, who would, as we see politically, everything he does, the Democrats fight. Who would be against that? And why would you be against the dollar, or what Trump's getting ready, or seemingly going to be trying to do? Why would anybody be against that?
Well, if you're on the other side of the aisle and you love these social programs and you want to print money like willy-nilly, the gold backing some portion of the dollar prohibits you from doing that, because you need to go out and buy that gold before you can go print all of that money. Right now, hey, look, I need $1 billion. Fine. They sign a bill, and next thing you know, $1 billion is created out of thin air. If you needed $1 billion, but you needed to put $100 million away with gold to back it, that stops you from printing money.
So all those social programs, would they still be funded? I mean, a government that's less debt, wouldn't give it the ability to continue to fund some of these programs?
Well, yeah, it'll fund the programs, but it'll fund the necessary programs instead of some of these crazy ones that you think about, right? Mm-hmm. It makes the government more efficient, because you're not going to present programs that everybody looks at and says, hey, without free money, that's just a dumb idea, right? You get rid of all the dumb ideas, and you have to present something that's good for the country. That's the difference, right? What's good for the country, because we're going to have to go spend some money to get the gold to then fund this program. And everything starts getting much better. Think about interest rates. If you backed our debt with gold right now, the interest on the national debt would probably fall 1.5%, if not 2%.
Right.
Everybody trusts it. You pay interest on the debt based on being able to get repaid.
The collateral.
And if you don't think you're going to be able to get repaid, absolutely, that is collateral, and there isn't any for the United States, so it's the full faith and trust of the United States government. And if you backed it by gold, interest rates would come down. Our $1 trillion worth of interest payments would drop to $500 million, or 500 million, 500 billion, or $600 billion. You're saving $400 billion just by making sure that people around the world trusted the dollar and the treasury. So that would just be one instance of saving enormous amounts of money.
So I know you work around the country in terms of clientele and things of that nature. What do you, obviously without broaching any confidentiality, what are you seeing with people in New York? Are they beginning to hedge their bets up there? Are they worried that this socialist communist guy might actually win, and what the heck would happen at that point?
Yeah, we get a lot of phone calls from all over the place. New York being one of them. We're not hearing too much from over there. I think people are just deer in the headlights. They're not 100% sure what to do with that whole situation. So, we're not hearing too much from New York specifically for that. I mean, they're worried about the economy and they're worried about their state, the people we're talking to, but I haven't heard too many people complain politically yet, and maybe it's just because
they may be financially agnostic. They got enough money where I'll let these idiots do whatever they need to. They've already hedged their bets on other places. Got a question here. I don't want to hold up too much of your time, but this is pretty interesting. Let me put it. I hope you can see it on the screen. It says, can you ask Kevin if I should exchange my silver into gold, or if the price of silver will have a bigger ROI than putting it into silver? Into gold.
Hold on to your silver. Yeah, hold on to your silver. Absolutely one of the most undervalued assets in almost any asset category. I mean, we deal with financial institutions and a bunch of hedge funds, so on and so forth, and everybody's excited about silver. And the reason why is you have a 200 million ounce deficit in the silver market. And if Barry and I owned a factory and we were 200 million widgets behind, we'd go build another factory, have our workers working 24/7 to try to catch up. The challenge in the silver market is that 20% of the mines actually mine silver, and 80% of the mines mine some other metal like gold or aluminum or copper, and silver's a byproduct. So when you're 200 million ounces behind, the 20% of the market that actually only mines silver can't catch up. The 80% doesn't mine silver as their main metal, so they don't care about it. So this deficit's going to get bigger. It's the silver, or the solar industry is eating up more and more silver every single year, and this deficit keeps getting bigger and bigger and bigger. So that's why I think Robert Kiyosaki, who I love, said the price of silver could double or triple over the next 3 to 5 years. I believe him, and I see how hard it is to get large quantities of silver. So I know it was a long answer to your question, but I think the silver is going to give you a much bigger ROI than the gold market over the next year or so.
This is an odd question, but you might as well take this one. It says, why can't we buy from Lear in New York State? Is that true?
Yeah, we don't. We actually talk to a lot of people in New York. We don't do business in New York anymore. New York is, for this industry, has had so many rules and regulations that we just said, we're not going to do business in New York anymore.
Okay. This is from a woman named Jewel. Jewel says, which should take priority, paying off the house or investing in gold?
Look, I always I always like paying off debt first, but look, I don't know where you are in life, so I'll answer the question. If you're in your middle age and you've got some time to go before retirement, whatever interest rate you have on your house, I mean, if you have a high interest rate and somehow you got in at 5, 6, 7%, 7 or 8% or something, I pay down the debt. If you're at a low interest rate, 3 or 4%, then you might want to think about taking some portion of that and placing it into the gold market, because like the article I just read here, the gold market has outproduced the stock market as far as return since 2000. It's beat the NASDAQ 100 over the past 5 years. So you're going to get, in my opinion, a little bit higher rate of return than your 3 or 4% that you may be paying, as mortgage interest. So I can't really answer your question without asking a bunch of other questions. Just think paying off debt is always better, so you don't have that hanging over. And investing and having a nest egg for some hard time is always a good idea also. So you have to balance those two.
Oh, great. Now, I'm not sure if this question is coming from my wife's burner account, but the Refa asked, my question is, gold jewelry as good as a bar? It probably is my wife. Where is she? Is she back there somewhere in a burner account? Can I buy jewelry? Is it the same? That's a great question, because I have been asked that specifically.
Yeah. It's a great picture. The woman's face is all smiles, right? I hope she's like, I hope the answer to this question is what I think it's going to be. The answer is no. Gold jewelry typically has somewhere between a 300 and a 500% markup. So if I weighed the jewelry and I purchased it from you, I'm going to purchase it near the spot price of gold. But if I sell it to you, it's going to be 300 to 500% higher than the actual spot price of jewelry. Where this answer would be yes would be places like China and India. So they make jewelry specifically for owning precious metals. So their premiums on jewelry are much, much, much smaller in those countries than our country, but it doesn't work too well in our country.
And what if, I'll let me give out a secret. One of the things I had been doing that Robin loved was going into pawn shops. And pawn shops, they took that 400 or 500% off, and you're getting a much better price. What do you think about people who buy gold at a pawn shop?
Yeah, we deal with a lot of pawn shops. And basically, when they purchase your jewelry, they're purchasing it near the spot price or whatever lowest value they can get. So you're going to get a little bit better deal there. But typically, pawn shop premiums are still 20, all the way up to 50 or 60%, and our premiums aren't going to be anywhere near the 50 or 60%. So you're still going to get a better deal. But you're going to get a better deal on jewelry if you go to a pawn shop than you will obviously at a regular shop.
Yeah.
So keep making her happy, Barry.
I don't know what this is, Kevin, so I hope you know. What's a walking liberty?
Yeah, so that's a 50-cent piece, and it's 90% silver, and yes, they are valuable. So if you take that coin, it's about 0.7, I think it's 0.718 or so ounces in each coin. So you take half an ounce times that number, and that's how much silver is actually in there. But it's pure silver in that coin for that 0.1 or 0.718 of gold of silver that is included in that coin.
All right. So
matter of fact, we sell junk silver bags with walking liberties and quarters and the dimes, and people like those because they can spend them. Most people sell 1 ounce coins, so a walking liberty is basically a half an ounce, a little less than a half an ounce. So those are good coins to spend because silver's $40. That coin's worth probably $18 or something today.
Wow.
Yeah. So
wow.
They're great pieces to hold.
So my spots that I read for Lear must be working, because this question is from Amy. Amy says, buying 4 ounces of silver, can I obtain them in OZs like Barry always shows us? I always show this up. So she's asking something specifically. So in other words, you would want 4 of these if you said 4 ounces. This is an ounce right here. So it says, I think if you could see it, it says 1 troy ounce. So I guess she's asking, can she get 4 of those?
Correct. Yes, you can. You can get those in 1 ounce pieces. You can get them in 5 ounce bars, 10 ounce bars, 100 ounce bars. But yes, you can buy 4 individual silver bars like Barry has, or you can purchase them in coins. Basically, the price is very similar. So you can purchase 4 of them or as many as you'd like.
All right. So we asked Danny. I knew it was coming, and here, of course, Kevin. It's like people come in and they listen to you, and then they ask, "Here it comes again." So I am gonna get, next time you come on, I'm gonna get a graphic, and in this graphic, it's gonna say below, "Call Lear," and by the way, do this, because I think it for some reason it's not sinking in. So if you could indulge Danny's here all the time, but I guess he didn't hear this part.
Yeah. Well, first of all, I want to say, hey, Danny, I see Captain Danny Barrow. So if you were in the military, thank you for your service. My father was in the military as well. So thank you very much. Secondly, the minimum purchase, if you purchase and want to call in and talk to a representative, is $5,000 or more. If you'd like to go to our website at learcapital.com, then you can purchase any amount over $250 on the website.
Kevin, I'm going to put up this next question and hope you can answer it. Anthony says he's got silver quarters. Are they worth anything?
Yes. So in the 60s, depending on what date in the 60s, because there was a cutoff from 90% silver and 40% silver that they would add into those quarters. So you can look up the cutoff date. I believe it was 1964, but I'm not 100% sure off the top of my head. So yes, they are worth something. If you take them into a shop, or if you have a lot of them, you can tell me what the dates of those are, and we can give you the valuations of those. But they do have pure silver in some portion of them are pure silver.
All right, so I got one. I don't know what your time is. We're about a half hour, so we'll get two more. Got this one from Dave. Dave said, if gold is worth $3,500 and the dollar crashes, what would it be worth then?
Well, I don't even have to answer that question. Let's use Goldman Sachs, which really, most of the time, you don't hear Goldman Sachs talking about precious metals, but they just peg the gold price, in their opinion, over the next year and a half, I think it was, at $5,000. We are at around $4,500 an ounce. And really, if the dollar crashes, it could go much higher than that, Dave. I'm just looking at what central banks are buying and the demand behind the gold market to push it up to that price. So if you get an event, some black swan event, the dollar crashes more than we think it's going to go down, inflation kicks up again, any of those kinds of events, stock market crash, then the value could go much higher.
And the last question, we'll take this one, is from Mickey, which I'm not sure she's understanding, which is why I took this, because you can explain it to her. She says, is 1 troy ounce? And so just understand, this is an ounce. This is 1 troy ounce. Is it worth more than a bar? Well, a bar is what's a bar? 8 ounces? 4 ounces?
No, the bars come in 1 ounce, 5 ounce, 10 ounce, 50 ounce, and 100 ounce. And then you have kilo bars and 1,000 ounce bars. So they come in a bunch of different. But she says, I have 1 troy pound of silver.
Oh,
I think
pound.
what she meant is
Ooh.
1 troy ounce. Yeah.
A pound.
There isn't a troy pound. It's a troy ounce. The measure in metals is a troy ounce, which is a little bit different than a regular ounce. So if you have a troy ounce of silver, is it worth more than a bar of silver? It depends on how your silver is. If it's just a lump of silver, no, it's worth less because we have to get it assayed. But if it's in a bar form, a coin form, or some popular way that we can value that piece, then yes, the bar or the coin, or however you have your troy ounce, is the exact same value as any other troy ounce of silver.
And I noticed that last, but this is a good one because it ties into what you've been saying. If I were to invest money in a silver or gold IRA, which is different than what we've been talking about, what kind of storage fees should I expect? And I think the minimum amount is the same depending on how you acquire it, but I didn't know the stuff about the IRA. I'll let you take that.
Yeah, it's a lot because there's a couple of things going on. Your storage fee is depending on how much metal you're actually storing. So they base the storage fee based on how many metals. So if we don't know how much metal that you're going to place in there, then I can't really give you that value. Here's what I will say. We can answer all of those questions simply by giving us a phone call or going to learberry.com, and I can have a rep answer the question for you. Here's the other good news. If you do make that phone call, or anybody who makes that phone call, we add $500 automatically to your account. Just, I love Barry's program and I love being on here, so we just automatically add $5 to everybody's account. You can use that for your IRA fees, and you can use that to ship metals to your home delivery for any kind of home delivery. So your IRA fees are probably more or less taken care of that first year by us in the relationship we have with Barry. So, that's the good news there. So I hope that answers the question. But everybody who calls or goes to the website, we automatically gets $500. You can't use it to buy metal, but we use it for the shipping and insurance and all the costs to get the metal to you, or your IRA's fees.
Kevin, we could probably stay on here for an hour because now they're seeing the questions going up on the screen and they're just flying in. So call the number and ask. Like for instance, this question here: I have $15,000 worth of silver I bought in 2022. How much would that be today? Well, that's a simple math. You paid X in 2022. It's probably going to be worth a lot more at this point, wouldn't it, Kevin? Probably. I'm trying to
well,
she
says she has $15,000 worth of silver in 2022. Mm-hmm. 2022 is probably $21 an ounce, so 15,000 divided by 22 is 681 times $40 now. So it now is worth 27,272. That's going to be the best guess because you didn't tell me what price you paid in the silver price at that point, but substantially higher than where you were back then.
Well, Kevin, I'm going to let you go because otherwise it's going to be, hey, one more. And you'll be here all day. give Kevin or the people at Lear a call. Kevin, thanks for your time. Next time we're gonna have to book you for an hour. See, they get surprised because I don't know in advance if schedules are gonna change, so I can't announce, hey, listen, by the way, Kevin's on today. So if next time we do it, and I'll say Kevin Demerit will be here. Bring your questions, and we'll just sit back and hit the button and answer questions.
Absolutely, I love it.
Yeah.
They have really great questions, so
there's
happy to answer.
A whole bunch of them here, so give them a call. Thank you very much. And people want to hear what you have to say, so we'll make that happen. I'll get with your people and book it again. But again, full disclosure, in addition to a partner, I am a customer, and it's up just in the short time, up 5 and 6%. So Kevin, I thank you for that. And everybody, if you're interested in Lear Capital, I'm about to show you something about silver. Kevin, thanks for your time today.
Thanks, Barry.
All right, bye-bye.
It's genius. It's pure genius. America is the country that started the AI race. And as President of the United States, I'm here today to declare that America is going to win it. We're going to work hard. We're going to win it.
Why do so many financial experts call silver the most undervalued asset today? Because silver is essential to the future. From solar tech and electric vehicles to the explosive growth of artificial intelligence. Demand is rising fast, and yet silver is still trading at a bargain. With billions pouring into AI, silver prices have only one place to go, and that's up. In fact, silver may be the most overlooked asset class in financial planning. The opportunity for silver is well documented. The market for silver could double or even triple by 2026. You see, I believe in hard assets like this bar of silver. You can hold it in your hand, you can put it in your IRA, you can put it in your home safe, and relative to gold, it's very affordable. That's why I urge you to call my friends at Lear Capital and get their free report, The AI Revolution, and see why silver prices could be set to soar. Call 800-601-5430 or go to learberry.com. But don't wait. We all know. We've seen it. The government can print lots and lots of dollars, but they can't print silver. They were looking down in the chat, and there was some guy named Tiberius who said, you're being an idiot because the reason why there were less cases in Florida was because there weren't as many PCR tests. I had to vaporize him. See, once you start questioning their religion, they're going to find all kinds of different reasons why things are different down here. Because, you should have taken more and taken like 5 or 6 shots or something. No, didn't take anything, don't care. Don't care. So I'm sorry if your religion is offended, but I'm not going there. If you want to, I don't have any problem whatsoever. But I don't understand how other people can come in here and make some kind of statements and tell those of us who have lived our lives that we shouldn't be living our lives. Sorry, that ain't gonna work down here. All right, so let's continue, and I hope you guys got something out of that. We love having Kevin on here when he comes on. It's funny, a lot of people are resistant at first, and then they realize, oh, it's not an infomercial. We're actually taking questions and showing people and teaching people. So it's not just, hey, go buy this stuff. It's like, here's some information that you can then go research on your own. You don't have to listen to me. You don't have to listen to Kevin. Here's some nuggets. Go listen. Like when I showed you this this post by George Behezi, and we talked about it. It's a long post. You can go ahead and read it yourself, and then there's a 3.5-minute video, which I'm going to show you at the end here because I'm going to talk about some stuff with finances as well. But I am a big advocate, a big proponent of educating yourself. Don't take anybody's word for it, especially not the media. At this point, if you're still listening to the media thinking you're hearing news and information, you're in trouble. You're in big trouble. I mean, another, even with us people in the podcast realm, there's a lot of stuff floating around that people will say, and offhand, I will tell you first off, almost everything I say is my opinion. I'm not going to tell you here this is true because I don't know what's true anymore. That's why I concentrate on the videos coming out of people's actual mouths, because there's a story today that there was all kinds of shenanigans going on in the Department of Health and how they were trying to backstab Rfkjr Jr. and get him out of office. I don't need any reports to see that. I can see what these congressmen and senators are doing. It's obvious they want him gone. You don't need any exclusive. It's like, oh, this is pretty bad. Here we go again. They're going to try and, whether physically or, on stage, do him in because they have to. This is one of the last vestiges of power that these people have. And when Trump said he's flooding the zone, he truly is flooding the zone. He is going after these people nonstop. And I love it. So let's listen in a little bit more because it's so redundant, but I got a couple nuggets for you.
8 out of 10 of our kids cannot qualify for military service. This is a national security issue. When my uncle was president, we spent 0 on chronic disease. Today, we spend $1.3 trillion. It's the biggest cause. It's increasing. And all of the arguments that Republicans and Democrats have about single-payer, Obamacare, or with the various ways of allocate the health dollars, they're all like rearranging deck chairs on the Titanic. If we don't end this chronic disease, we are the sickest country in the world. That's why we have to fire people at CDC. They did not do their job. This was their job to keep us healthy.
Thank you,
and I need to fire some of those people to make sure this doesn't happen again. Finally,
you know what we really need to do? We need to find out which administration put this insanity in place that said government employees can't be fired. That you have to go through a Supreme Court order to get rid of somebody who's not doing what you want. I shouldn't have to explain. It's a congressional hearing. Did you fire this person? Yeah, why? I felt like it. Any other job in the country, hey, you're not doing what I expect you to do. I'm bringing in somebody else. Some people fire people just because they're not my people. I can't tell you how many corporations I've been with or have been recruited to, and they would say, here's your budget, and here's your staff. Meet with them, decide which ones you're going to keep, and get rid of the rest. A football coach comes in, same thing. I like this guy, and these two got to go. Okay, it's your job. But you have a government employee, it's like, oh, you can't fire me, I'm going to sue. I'm going to sue because I cannot be fired. And then if you sue me, I'm going to have to take you to the appellate court. And the appellate court to the Supreme, it costs you $1 million to fire somebody who's getting paid a couple $100,000. This makes no sense. And then it takes up a congressional hearing? Who are you to fire these people? I'm the boss. I don't want to be in any sort of situation, government or otherwise, where the boss can't call his own shots. That's why he's the boss. That's why we voted for him. We didn't vote for him so all you sycophants and all of you snakes could stay in a position. Why don't we find a way to repeal all that? And I'm doing that for the same thing for the Democrats. You get elected, you can choose who you want. Not get saddled with the people who've been here for 20 and 30 years saying, this is how we've always done it. That's the worst thing to say to a boss. You know, in private, if you go to a job or you're at a job and they change CEOs or something, and if you don't know, let me give you a hint. And the CEO or the new CFO or everybody comes in and goes, hey, I see you're doing this. Why do you do that? Never answer. I'm telling you, save your job. What I'm about to tell you, this is gold. Never say to that person, that's how we've always done it. If you answer that question when a CEO or the new manager comes in and goes, why exactly are you doing this? You better have a reason other than, that's how we've always done it. Because at that point, I don't need you anymore. You're just pushing buttons. Ugh, get lost.
I would like to address the recent shakeups at CDC. These changes were absolutely necessary adjustments to restore the agency to its role as the world's gold standard public health agency with the central mission of protecting Americans from infectious disease. CDC failed that responsibility miserably during COVID, when its disastrous and nonsensical policies destroyed small businesses, violated civil liberties, closed our schools, caused generational damage in doing so, masked infants with no science, and heightened economic inequality. And yet all those oppressive and unscientific interventions failed to do anything about the disease itself. America is home to 4.2% of the world's population, yet we had nearly 20% of the COVID deaths.
Explain that one. 4% of the population and 5x the rest of the world in terms of how many deaths there were. Why? What were we doing so badly that the other countries were doing so well? Nobody wants to explain that. How can arguably the best, most advanced country in the world do so poorly? Because maybe there was something else going on.
Literally did worse than any country in the world. And the people at CDC who oversaw that process, who put masks on our children, who closed our schools, are the people who will be leaving. And that's why we need bold, competent, and creative new leadership at CDC. People able and willing to chart a new course. As my father once said, progress is a nice word, but change is its motivator, and change has its enemies. That's why we need new blood at CDC. That's also why it's imperative that we remove officials with conflicts of interest and catastrophically bad judgment and political agendas. We need unbiased, politics-free, transparent, evidence-based science in the public interest. Those are the guiding principles behind the changes at the CDC, and that is what you can expect all across our agency for the next 3 years.
Now, I hope that's exactly what happened. So I just got notice in my feed that Pam Bondi is on. I am going to set that up. Let's take that semi-live. I'll have to catch up, but then we'll go live. So in the interim, while I'm doing that, let me go ahead and play my catch-up music, as I call it. And I will be right back. Let me get this Pam Bondi unannounced. You know, I'm almost ready to get into my new studio, which this would never happen. I would have never mind. Let me just get my crap together. Be right back.
There's somewhere to be every night of the week. Seems God ain't close as he used to be. And there's more tequila in this old town than pines in Tennessee. I ain't the man I thought I'd be. And these neon lights that keep me up got me thinking maybe mom and dad had it right all along. We're too old to still be alone, and we ain't happy ever after all. I'm just saying it wouldn't be as bad as we made it out, living in our hometown. You find a girl and get married before you're 20. But I've been running like a southbound train as fast as
for you, and the nature and extent of the horrific crimes that are taking place that General Bondi just outlined. After we finish these very brief comments, it will be open for questions at that point. And just bear with us, and we'll be there very soon. The first case that we're talking about is the case here in Tampa that General Bondi was talking about, United States versus Cabrera, which is 12 defendants, an international alien smuggling ring, and they also engaged in asylum fraud. And why did they do it? They did it for money and money alone. As General Bondi just noted, we have tracked at least $18 million trafficking through their account and laundered through their accounts to pay their expenses, to pay their co-conspirators. This was a profit-making motive that went on between 2021 and today, 2025. How did it happen? They used social media. They went on social media with Cuban individuals to tell them that they could get Cuban individuals and get them visas based on fraudulent conduct by putting their visas, which were based on European citizenship. They had co-conspirators throughout the world to gather these people up to try to get their money to participate in this. And I say co-conspirators. There are numerous co-conspirators. There were thousands of people, aliens listed in their ledgers that they were doing this with. Their ledgers were sophisticated as any business that you will come across. Their ledgers had dates of travel, money owed, airlines used, smuggling routes. How did they do it? They brought these people through charters and commercial airlines through other countries. They put the fraudulent documentation together with these individuals. Of course, as General Bondi just noted, at $40,000 apiece. They spent up millions of dollars flying these people throughout the country before they came back into the United States. They would provide them with fraudulent visas based on the fact that they were saying that they were not in Cuba after 2011, when of course they were. With this fraudulent document, they coached these people once they came to enter into the United States. How did they coach them? They coached them to make sure you tell these people that you're a tourist. Make sure you tell them that you're just here for a visit. And of course, conceal the fact that you had come from Cuba. And then after and when you get into the United States, lay low for a while. Don't make any noise about things. Why? Because at the appropriate time, they wanted you to come forward to seek asylum, being a Cuban national. So they would then prepare the asylum applications, which were likewise fraudulent. So they're preparing fraudulent document to get into the country, preparing fraudulent documentation to get asylum. And ladies and gentlemen, this was all for money. And it was a sophisticated enterprise with multiple shell corporations being used and transferring money throughout the country. We have uncovered at least 27 known bank accounts with these people to transfer their money between and among each other, pay for expenses and people overseas, and using money to move in and out of their shell corporations to hide it, which is the substance of the money laundering charge. Suffice it to say, the bottom line of this is that it was a business, a criminal business that was set up for one reason and one reason only: to make money on the backs of these people and at the expense of the American people by defrauding them. And in doing so, they passed at least $18 million through their bank accounts. That's a brief overview of the Tampa case. Obviously, it is now open for open for review because it's no longer sealed. And I will want if I can, I want to turn this over to my friend from the Southern District of Texas, Nick Ganji, who will give you an idea of the case that he is going to present from his district. Nick.
Thank you. Madam Attorney General. Good afternoon. My name is Nicholas Ganji, the United States Attorney for the Southern District of Texas. The American people have been told time and time again that insisting upon a secure border and an orderly immigration process somehow lacks compassion. But what the disastrous record of the last 4 years has shown is that an open border is anything but compassionate. And perhaps the most pernicious and cruel outgrowth of our once open border is the rise of the cartel-backed human smuggling industry. And make no mistake, it is indeed an industry. Human beings are treated like commodities, stacked like cordwood in dangerous and sometimes deadly conditions. All it takes is one faulty air conditioner or one wrong turn of the steering wheel to turn a smuggling run into a mass casualty event. The saddest example of this is the 2021 smuggling crash in Chiapas, Mexico, where a tractor trailer carrying 160 people overturned, costing the lives of 50, including children, and injuring more than 100 others. The Southern District of Texas, along with Joint Task Force Alpha, has worked tirelessly to bring justice to those responsible for this great tragedy. Last year, a grand jury in the Southern District of Texas indicted 6 Guatemalan nationals for conspiring to smuggle these victims into the United States. And on December 9th of last year, the 3rd anniversary of the crash, Guatemalan authorities arrested the 4 remaining conspirators who were residing overseas. I'm pleased to announce today that 3 of these alleged conspirators have just been extradited to the United States and are making their initial appearance today in Laredo, Texas, with a 4th defendant on the way. I am grateful to our Guatemalan partners for their assistance in delivering these defendants to us so that these accused smugglers can learn a little bit about what Texas justice looks like. But the Southern District of Texas work with Joint Task Force Alpha has yielded other successes as well. A few notable examples: we indicted and convicted 14 defendants who conspired to smuggle hundreds of illegal aliens via dangerous methods, including packing them in suitcases, repurposed water tankers, and wooden crates with little ventilation or room to move. We recently obtained pleas from 6 smuggling defendants who, among other things, left a man to die of heat exhaustion in the Texas brush. We indicted and convicted a human smuggler that had transported dozens of illegal aliens, including minors, and then led police on a high-speed chase through the streets of Laredo. And we obtained a 103-month sentence against a former CBP officer who betrayed his oath and took bribes to allow illegal aliens and cocaine to pass through his lane at a port of entry. Smuggling is a wicked and remorseless business, and it has no place in any civilized society, let alone the United States. And the Southern District of Texas will do whatever it takes to eradicate this industry once and for all, and to put those responsible in prison for as long as the law allows. So for those considering coming to this country illegally, our message is clear. Don't do it. Don't put your life or safety or those of your loved ones into the hands of the cartel. They do not care if you or your children have access to food, water, or even air to breathe. They do not care if you live or die. And our message to these smugglers is equally clear. You can run, but you can't hide. If you're not already in cuffs, you will be in cuffs soon, because the United States does not forget. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to United States Attorney for the Western District of Texas, Justin Simmons.
Thank you all for being here today. My name is Justin Simmons. I'm the U.S. Attorney for the Western District of Texas. Thank you, General Bondi, for organizing this today. Also want to thank President Trump for the encouragement and the motivation he's given all of us to take down these alien smuggling organizations and the cartels that they work with. You know, Juarez, Mexico is right across the border from El Paso, Texas. And for years, Juarez has been plagued by violence, kidnapping, and murder. Cartels have been warring over that area for decades because it's a key route for trafficking drugs and smuggling humans into the United States. These cartels have no bottom. There is no limiting principle on how low they will go to enrich themselves. We saw an example of this recently in a case where a woman named Susana Guadian ran an alien smuggling organization out of Juarez. She worked with her husband Daniel, her daughter Diane, and Diane's husband Manuel Valenzuela to smuggle children from Mexico into the United States. Basically what she would do was contact U.S. drivers who would come across and pick up these children and then take them back across the border. Prior to being picked up, Susanna would prep these children by sometimes telling them what to say when they got to the POE, the port of entry, or a checkpoint. Other times she would give them THC gummies, as General Bondi said, to calm them and keep them compliant throughout the process. In this particular case, the children that were given the THC gummies were 12, 9, 3, and 2. When CBP recognized when they were trying to cross with this group of children that something wasn't right, they saw it, they realized those children needed some kind of medical treatment. They got a couple of them to the hospital to receive that treatment. They were later diagnosed with THC poisoning. as U.S. Attorney Ganji said, as General Bondi said, these cartels, these organizations do not care about you or your children when moving them across the border. So we're really happy that we were able to get arrest warrants this weekend and get at least 2 of these individuals, Diane and Manuel Valenzuela, off the street. The 2 other individuals, Susanna and Daniel Guadian, are still at large, but we will do everything we can to bring them to justice as well. You know, nothing crosses the border without the cartel's permission, and nothing crosses without payment to the cartels. These cartels see children just like they see a kilo of Coke. Dollar signs. That's all they see. They care nothing about their well-being. Additionally, these organizations often use stash houses in American neighborhoods where they will put these aliens that they're smuggling across for days, weeks at a time. This endangers those neighborhoods, endangers those people who live in those areas, and it brings organized crime to Main Street USA. We will not have it. We will do everything we can to shut down these organizations because it hits the cartels where it counts, in their pocketbooks. That is all they care about, how much money they can make. And it makes America safer for Americans. It makes this place, this country, a place where you as an American can not just survive, but thrive. So that's what we're committed to. I want to thank our partners with Border Patrol, Customs and Border Protection, and HSI for their work on this case. I also want to thank Joint Task Force Alpha and their help putting this case and many other cases together. You know, in San Antonio earlier this year, we got life sentences on folks who had smuggled individuals in a tractor trailer into the United States. 54 individuals, 53 plus 1 unborn child, died in the back of that tractor trailer. So I'm really really thankful for Joint Task Force Alpha and the work they've been doing with us as well. We are on a mission to shut down these organizations and the cartels more broadly. In the Western District of Texas, this is what we do. Thank you very much.
So lest you think this problem is just on the south border in Texas and Florida, I'd like to bring up U.S. Attorney Mike Drescher from the District of Vermont. Mike?
Thank you. I want to thank you, Attorney General Bondi, for your remarks, and I want to thank you, U.S. Attorney Kehoe, for your hospitality hosting this event. I especially want to thank you, Attorney General Bondi, for bringing attention to the extraordinary work that the men and women of the United States Border Patrol and Homeland Security investigations are doing in Swanton sector, the portion of the U.S.-Canada border that includes Vermont, northern New York, and New Hampshire. Thanks to their work and the work of Joint Task Force Alpha, the United States Attorney's Office for the District of Vermont has obtained a 7-count indictment charging Norma Linda Lozano, who's 53 years old, of Ypsilanti, Michigan, with 1 count of conspiracy to commit alien smuggling and 6 counts of bringing aliens to the United States who lacked permission to enter or to remain in this country. As alleged in court filings, through much of 2024, Lozano repeatedly smuggled and attempted to smuggle illegal aliens into the United States from Canada. She did this for profit, negotiating payment with her Canadian co-conspirators and coordinating with them the locations where she would pick up her loads of non-citizens, aliens entering the country. As alleged, Lozano's methods included, echoing some of the comments we've already heard today, hiding a child alongside luggage in the far recesses of the vehicle that she was traveling in, disregarding the child's safety and welfare. These offenses are serious for several reasons. First, they aid and abet those who are seeking to enter the country illegally. Second, they exploit those people who are desperate and misguided enough to try to enter the country illegally. On the northern border, such illegal crossings frequently involve trekking through forests and swamps in inhospitable and dangerous circumstances. And third, they facilitate the unvetted aliens entering the United States for unknown and possibly nefarious purposes. In short, offenses such as those charged pose a risk to the nation's security. And the United States Attorney's Office for the District of Vermont is proud to work with the United States Border Patrol, Homeland Security, and Joint Task Force Alpha to help secure the northern border. Ms. Lozano was arrested Tuesday of this week in the Middle District of Georgia, where today she had her initial appearance in Albany, Georgia. She's been transferred to have subsequent appearances in the District of Vermont. Last, I want to recognize the hard work of Assistant United States Attorneys Matthew Lasher and Michelle Ara, who, under the leadership of Jonathan Opart, the Chief of the Criminal Division for the District of Vermont, have teamed up with Task Force Alpha Trial Attorney Jenna Reed to seek to hold Lozano and others engaged in similar conduct responsible for these offenses. Thank you.
We're ready to take questions. If you want to direct them to any of the states, just let us know. Questions? Well, how about if we start on this side of the room and go over? Any questions?
Are you seeing any connections between the hotels operating on the southern border that have been designated as transnational criminal organizations and the smuggling organizations in New York and Vermont? And then the second question for you, Attorney General, a judge ruled recently that the president's deployment of the National Guard in LA was illegal. Excuse me, does that ruling affect your plans to send resources to Chicago at all?
First, to the National Guard, we will be following the law. We are appealing that ruling, and we plan on being successful in court. We anticipate very much being successful. Back to this, yes, these transnational criminal organizations, since we have secured completely our southern border, are finding various ways to come into our country. And as our U.S. Attorney in Vermont knows, the northern border, it always has been, but it's gotten much worse. Much more prevalent because it's a multi-billion-dollar business, the smuggling of drugs, guns, and humans. And so they're not going to quit once we secured our southern border. But yes, we're stopping them at our northern border, and that's why we're also increasing Joint Task Force Alpha to include our maritime ports as well. Any other questions?
First for you, or I'm not sure you went to the Tampa part of it first, but when it comes to Tampa, do you have any ideas as to why they set up shop here in Tampa? And then the other question about Tampa would just be, how much of this is going on right now? This seems like a pretty deep thing that was happening here. Can you just start throwing darts at a map and find these kinds of groups?
Can I start in on that first? Because I know you're a Tampa reporter, and that's why I think it was so important to have it here, because people are expecting this in Texas and big cities, and Tampa is a big city, but it is everywhere. It touches, I think, every city in our country. And traveling around this country, it's everywhere. It's everywhere you go, because our borders were wide open, and guns, drugs, gangs were coming in, terrorist organizations, into every city in our country. We arrested very recently, 20 minutes outside of our nation's capital, one of the top MS-13 members in the entire country. One of them was arrested also in Portland, Oregon. So it's very organized. They are spread throughout this country. And U.S. Attorney Kehoe, I'll let you take it from Tampa.
With regard to Tampa, I mean, this has been going on for a significant period of time. Our investigation takes us back to at least 2021. And these people aren't some individuals or from far-off areas. They're from neighborhoods right here in Tampa, from addresses that you know, that you could pass in Publix or walk on the street. Why did they set up here? Because they were started up in 2021, operated undetected, and let's be perfectly honest, as General Bondi said, $18 million in an entity that was moving in a tremendous speed, but in a relatively short period of time. $7 million going through Zelle alone. So why did they come here? Because they lived here, they were here, they set up and did business here, and it was profitable.
Themselves of different services, schools and parks? I mean, were they living otherwise ordinary lives?
I from all intents and purposes, I can't answer that question factually, and I don't want to mislead you, but I don't have any information to say that they weren't. I can't say that they were sending their children to local schools, but they were certainly living here and doing business here.
Attorney General, if I can just ask you, now that you're seeing this from the inside, you obviously spent time in state government, doing law enforcement. Now that you're seeing it from the federal level, how would you characterize what you've become aware of as terms of how much this is going on around the country? I mean, it seems like these cases are just a few of what you can highlight.
And these were not coordinated arrests or extraditions. These are 4 that all happened in a week. And because the majority involved unaccompanied children and human smuggling, we wanted to highlight those and why we're expanding our task force. It's shocking, being in the state of Florida, being a state prosecutor, but now on a national level and an international level, seeing the amount of human smuggling that goes on in child exploitation and the amount of drugs that freely flowed into our country for 4 years has truly been horrific, and we are doing everything in our power to stop it. And we're also meeting with our partners around the world to work hand in hand with them as well.
Can you characterize how many more cases are happening in Tampa and Hillsborough County, Florida?
So just since January 20th, we have charged, in Tampa, you're specifically Tampa, but Joint Task Force Alpha has charged 55 defendants since recently. Since January, 55 have been charged. And these are all, from all over the country. Major cases. But I'll let U.S. Attorney Kehoe answer Tampa. It's everywhere.
Yes, I mean, to take what the general says, this is everywhere. This is just not a part-time thing. Why? Because it's a profitable thing. Other cases under investigation here in Tampa. Yes. Numerous cases, yes. I can't get into the details of those, but this is not the last case of this fashion that we're going to do. Border Patrol and HSI are out there day after day, week after week, conducting investigations. So will there be more such cases being indicted along the way? Their answer is yes. I don't want to speak for my colleagues, but I assume that they would echo my response in that regard.
Take one more. Go ahead.
Good afternoon to you all. So for the cartels that are successful in smuggling children over, what are they doing with them once they're successful in that?
The children?
Yeah.
They're either being trafficked. We've seen multiple cases of children being trafficked who have come across our borders, come into our country, and they're being put on planes by themselves. When I was at the border in September, I went to the border in September in Yuma, Arizona, and they had a term, and it was called a recycled child. And these Border Patrol agents were seeing a little boy coming across our border multiple times. They saw him coming in as part of a family unit, which is often how they use children to get horrible criminals into our country, posing as a family unit. But these kids are coming from all over the place, and we don't know many of them where their parents were. That's why we're struggling to find that out, to prosecute all of them. But it was a recycled child, and these very vigilant Border Patrol agents recognized a little boy coming across. This was last September, and they couldn't figure out how he was going back and forth so easily. Well, our borders were wide open. And if you dropped your IDs, I saw IDs that were just piled up from every country you can imagine. If you dropped your passport, if you dropped your ID, they had a military member from China, dropped his ID. You could walk right into this country and say you were from anywhere you wanted to. And that's what we have stopped, and that's what we're going to prosecute. So they're using these children, many of them, to exploit them to help other gangs, cartels throughout this country. Some of these cases, when we're arresting these cartel members, they have children with them who are not related to them in their homes. Thank you. Thank you all for being here, and thank you for taking such close attention and realization to what's happening throughout our country affecting children. Have a great day.
Wow. Thank you guys. I mean, with you guys communicating and SV and Ashley pushing out information to me, and we're doing it all, in real time on the fly. And with the services that I am now subscribed to, if it's live somewhere, I can probably pull it in. It just takes me a second to configure and then bring it in. Once I'm in my new studio setup, I'll be able to see, hey, Pam Bondi's talking right now, bam, and bring it in. But that kind of stuff that's been happening, you have to wonder, why wasn't Mayorkas doing it? Why wasn't he taking control? Why wasn't he saving these kids, stopping these people from everything? We watched the movie Sound of Freedom a couple nights ago, and the line in that movie, God's children are not for sale. No, it's got to stop. And the thing that this guy said at the end, and it really struck me when he just said that, because this is the thing that Democrats keep saying. Oh, they're just here in the community. They're just doing their jobs. They're paying taxes. They're good people. Until they're not good people. Because you don't know who the traffickers are. It could be that person who's the nice person that you see. Hi, how are you? I do bake sales, and all of a sudden out the back door they're doing something. She just said it. They're everywhere. They allowed this stuff to permeate our entire country. It's disgusting. It's appalling. It makes you want to just grab a pew and get out there and start taking care of business yourself, because now you know how many of these people in government are on a take. Boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. Makes you mad. Now I got some breaking news for you. Let's see if I can play this for you. Things are about to pop off in Chicago. It's about to happen. Let's listen in here.
It's not just the National Guard. Multiple sources telling Fox News that ICE agents are set to move into Chicago for an immigration crackdown. Now, that city's Democratic leaders are expected to resist, but many locals, like our next guest, say it is a long time coming. But Sean Tunsil will join us in a moment, talk about the residents' sentiments in a moment there in Chicago. But first, the senior correspondent Mike Tobin, who's got a beat on this every day in Chicago. Mike.
And, Bill, we know that some federal staff is already at the Great Lakes Naval Base north of Chicago, and Illinois Senators Tammy Duckworth and Dick Durbin are demanding that the Secretary of the Navy provide them with some information for how that base is going to be used. And then a meeting of North suburban leaders was told that some 300 federal agents are expected in Chicagoland. Now, the mayor of Broadview, a suburb to the west of Chicago, issued a letter stating that a building there will be used as primary processing facility for operations, which could last for 45 days. And law enforcement should be ready for protests, even destruction of property. Tom Homan, border czar under President Trump, argues that sanctuary policies pushed by Chicago Mayor Brandon Johnson and Illinois Governor J.B. Pritzker forced them to zero in on places like Chicago.
We're going to flood the zone. Sanctuary cities, I've said it 1,000 times, they're going to get exactly what they don't want: more agents in the communities and more worksite enforcement. If they won't let us arrest a bad guy in the safety and security of a county jail, so more collateral arrests are going to occur in sanctuary cities because you forced us into the community.
Chicago saw over 51,000 migrants arrive since the summer of 2022. The watchdog group Illinois Public Policy estimates the state will spend over $2.5 billion on migrants by the end of 2025. Chicago Alderman Raymond Lopez, a Democrat, says Illinois leaders with sentiments for the migrant community are not sincere.
If we had addressed this by amending the Welcoming City Ordinance several months ago, we would not be in this position today, in my opinion. If we had shown a willingness to work with Donald Trump, Tom Homan, and Kristi Noem to say, look, we know you know where the high priority targets are. Let us help you when we arrest them. We'll let you know. I think we'd be in a very different spot than where we find ourselves today.
Now, September is a month when Mexican Independence Day is recognized with a series of parades through Hispanic areas. Now, the town of Waukegan has postponed their parade, but the Pilsen neighborhood to the south of where I am is continuing with their parade. However, they've got spotters in the crowd who will be equipped with cell phones, radios, even whistles to alert people of any development.
All right, so it's about to happen in Chicago. I got this by both Ashley and SV sent me this. It says, breaking, the Trump administration has formally requested military assistance in Chicago per a DHS memo obtained by Ken Klippenstein. It's time. Chicago shall be freed. This is big. That is absolutely big. But not as big as this next one. This one, what can we say now? 25-0, Pam Bondi? 25-0. A U.S. appeals court has blocked the activist judge order to close Alligator Alcatraz. Big win for America, big loss for activist judges. Now fill it to the brim with the newcomers. The 11th Circuit also blocked the activist judge from proceeding with the case until the appeal is resolved. Every single one of these things thus far, once it's gotten to the appellate level or above, has been stricken. They are spitting into the wind, the Democrats. They are doing everything they possibly can, rolling out every kind of lawfare, and it's for nothing. It's wasting time. I think this whole alligator Alcatraz thing was what, 3 weeks? 2 weeks? And it's right back. And now it's going to be worse because now they know you can't stop them, and they're just going to flood it. It's over. It's done. All they can do at this point is try to put up speed bumps. That's all these people can do. Even now, their lawfare is useless, futile to what President Trump is doing. I have no doubt that the tariff thing is going to be overturned. This is where it gets ugly. Because at this point, they've got nothing. Nothing is working for them. And it just keeps happening. What was this one? J.D. Vance, who's lately been quite vocal. When I see all these senators trying to lecture and gotcha Bobby Kennedy today, all I can think is you all support off-label, untested, irreversible hormonal therapies for children, mutilating our kids, and enriching Big Pharma. And these are his words, not coming out of mine. I'm just reading you what the vice president just said. You're full of shit and everyone knows it. If that doesn't tell you where this administration stands right now, if this doesn't tell you, reading this from J.D. Vance, if that doesn't tell you that we are in a war and we don't care anymore. We are going full boat and screw you. We don't have one F left to give. You're full of it. And everyone knows it. That makes for a dangerous adversary. Make sure you're locked and loaded. That's all I'm going to say, is because they can't win anything. And when you know you can't win, that desperation shows itself in a different way. President Trump capitalizing on all this stuff about kids, thanks Ashley, as parents across the country push back against schools undermining their children's faith. President Trump will speak at the Museum of the Bible on Monday during a hearing on religious liberty and education. I bring this all to you, and I spend 2.5, 3 hours sometimes on these shows because I don't want to, quote, do a podcast. I want to bring you information that you're probably not going to see all packaged for you. And with what I package and what Ashley and the mods and SV are able to send me, we can try to bring you things just as they happen. When you found out that Bondi was out there and she was live, boom, let's pull it in. And then, of course, when I'm not on air, which will change, Melania Trump spoke earlier. We're going to pull that in. We're going to have that tonight. We're going to have that in its entirety at, let's say, 7:30. We're going to have that. And so there's a whole lot of stuff happening that sometimes you just don't see. And I feel it's important for you to see it because this administration, this president, are not taking any prisoners. No mercy. No mercy. Go for it. Keep pushing. And as Tom Homan said, flood the effing zone. Man, what a time to be alive. This is absolutely nuts. And then this is what you just heard. Pam Bondi reveals the Biden regime allowed the transfer of over $7 million for the trafficking of children in the U.S. via just one smuggler. The smuggler made over $40,000 per victim and profited $18 million. The Biden regime is complicit in trafficking. God have mercy on their souls. The rest of us should have no mercy. Let God have the mercy on their souls. Pray for God to have mercy. The rest of us should completely obliterate these people. Shame them. Do anything you can. I'm not talking about violence. But let people know these people are scumbags to the nth degree. Unbelievable. Unbelievable what has happened in the last couple of years in this country and what's been allowed to happen. It disgusts me. It absolutely disgusts me. Let me take a few comments before I continue here. Didn't Tommy have a problem with his back? I'm not sure which Tommy. No mercy, no surrender, fled the frickin' zone, fight. Yeah, exactly. Just keep doing it. The alligators are celebrating. I can't wait. Somebody's going to have a GIF with an alligator going like this. Yeah, it's true. Joe Biden was never elected, per se. What souls? They are soulless. I'm sorry. You may be correct. Whatever. I'm so not afraid of any of these people. Bring it. See, but these aren't the kind of people who are going to fight you face to face. They'll do stuff to your house or your car, all that kind of craziness. Yes, God sees all. There's a special place in hell for Biden and whoever else was involved in it. I saw something about Stacey Abrams being indicted. I mean, that would be all over the place. Let me just check real quick. Stacey Abrams. Hold on. Stacey Abrams indicted. I haven't seen that or heard that anywhere. Let me see. No, there's stuff out there. Again, that's what you have to watch out for. All right, so let me show you what I mean. Here's somebody who posted this. All right, and it's got a picture of Stacey Abrams. Bombshell, blah, 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 has just been indicted in Georgia for voter fraud. And so you're following these kind of people. You know, obviously it's an anonymous account. It's fake and all this stuff. And then right under here, the source is Statistical Facebook page. Don't buy into this crap. That's why I'm saying be very, very careful. And just like you just saw, hey, I heard Stacey Abrams was indicted. Nope, not yet. And it's because somebody saw that, didn't realize they were being bamboozled, and then it caused you to consume it, and then here you go. You got that crap in you, and then you can't get out of it. And what's weird about it is, here, let me just show you this so you can see. There's a whole bunch of posts here. Here's one. Here's two. That's something else. But there, yeah, here's number 3. People are spreading it. And it's not true. And so it gets in your feed and you get to see it. But if you can't verify it, just like I said earlier about the whole stuff about the deep state paying off people and everything else, yeah, it's obvious. But I can't confirm it. There's no place I can go to and say there's an anonymous document. I don't want to do that. Same thing with these things. I can look right at it and knew it was fake. So you just have to be diligent in that regards to make sure that you're not, posting crap, as they say. Oh God! So here, oh man, this is coming fast. SV, so y'all just knocked me off my whole, knocked me off my whole show with all the stuff they keep finding and bringing to you. All right, the Trump administration has just extended the D.C. National Guard until November 30th. This is more than just a show for President Trump. Trump wants long-term results. That's absolutely huge. That's going to go through Thanksgiving. That's going to be very, very interesting. Thanks, SV. Another one here. Marco Rubio announced today during his visit to Ecuador that the United States would be designating 2 Ecuadorian-based gangs, the Los Chonereros and the Los Lobos. Hey, Los Lobos, well, that was a good band back in the day. Los Lobos, I used to love the Los Lobos, but not that Los Lobos, as foreign terrorist organizations and specially designated global terrorists, a move welcomed by the Ecuadorian President Daniel Noboa, who has also requested that U.S. soldiers be deployed to Ecuador to assist in combating the gangs that have been plagued the country since 2019. Rubio announced that the U.S. provide $13 million to help Ecuador improve its ability to security, and as well as another $6 million in drones for the Ecuadorian Navy. That's how it's done. Mexico, get on board. You're up. You're on the clock. Now I got to down this. Hold on. Let me download this because now that the ruling for, what do you call it? Alligator Alcatraz has dropped. It looks like, well, it doesn't look like. We have a statement by Ron DeSantis. Hold on one second. Let me bring this in. Hold on. Let me bring this right in here.
The mission continues on immigration enforcement. The media was giddy that somehow Alligator Alcatraz was, quote, shutting down. Now, we told them that that wasn't true. There have been illegal aliens continuing to be there and being removed and returned to their home country, but they ran with the narrative because some leftist judge ruled implausibly that somehow Florida wasn't allowed to use our own property to help the federal government in this important mission because they didn't do an environmental impact statement. Well, we said we would fight that. We said the mission would continue, and I'm pleased to say that the 11th Circuit Court of Appeals has just stayed that ruling and stayed the case. So Alligator Alcatraz is, in fact, like we've always said, open for business. The mission continues, and we're going to continue leading the way when it comes to immigration enforcement.
He looks happy. He looks so happy. I bet he couldn't wait to get in front of the camera and just rub it in their faces, especially down here because it was the eco-terrorists that were the ones that filed the suits. They had the water quality. Shut up. It's the Everglades. It's probably the most pure body of water anywhere in the South because it's untouched by humans, you idiots. Unbelievable. It's got its own ecosystem out there. Now, earlier I told you about this. Ashley just sent it to me. Thank you, Ashley. About Tim Kaine saying, hey, I don't know what you guys are talking about, but you don't get rights. Senator King says, believing rights come from your creator is extremely troubling. Openly rejecting America's founding creed. You know, inalienable rights and everything. Senator Tim Kaine, the notion that rights don't come from laws or the government but is extremely troubling. Yet the Declaration of Independence says all men are endowed by their creator, and as I said, with certain unalienable rights. If America's founding creed is troubling to Tim Kaine, then he's troubling to America. Resign in shame, Senator. You've disgraced your oath and office that you hold. And here, let you can hear him say this. I mean, hear him say it yourself. Okay, listen to this. Cut 5. Okay, here we go.
The notion that rights don't come from laws and don't come from the government, but come from the creator, that's what the Iranian government believes. It's a theocratic regime that bases its rule on Shia law and targets Sunnis, Baha'is, Jews, Christians, and other religious minorities. And they do it because they believe that they understand what natural rights are from their creator. So the statement that our rights do not come from our laws or our governments is extremely troubling.
Well, I'll tell you what's troubling. What's troubling is you've taken the veil off and we now know for a fact that you're communist. Absolute communist. Good gosh. I mean, we've heard a lot of stuff, but that one just takes the cake, doesn't it? Hearing that your rights do not come from God, we give them to you. We, the government, Democrats, we decide your laws. They're not unalienable. Go pound sand. I mean, these people are just too much. Perfect place in hell for them, for sure. He's worse than communists. Yeah, Bill says he's worse than communists. Who is this POS? God's creator. Unbelievable. Yeah, they're actually saying it now. They're actually coming out. I seem to have a low tolerance for stupidity today. Yeah, I'm glad they're doing it. I've told you before, I don't like closet racist. If you don't like me and you think I'm a N-word, say it. At least I know. Well, they're saying it. Take them for what they say they are. They're telling you. And everybody who sees it should realize at this point, these people aren't like us. They don't want anything to do with America. Now let's continue with the RFK Jr. stuff so I don't keep you guys here till dinner time.
His delusions. His prepared testimony even today includes the debunked lie that 500,000 children disappeared under the Biden administration's watch, a lie that the Trump administration is using as a pretext to hunt immigrant children and their families. So, enacting an agenda that I think is fundamentally cruel and defies common sense. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Do I get a reply? Or, Senator, you've sat in that chair for how long? 20, 25 years, while the chronic disease in our children went up to 76%. And you said nothing. You never asked the question why it's happening. Why is this happening? Today, for the first time in 20 years, we learned that infant.
Look at the woman sitting behind him. I don't think that's his daughter or any. I don't know who she is, but she's kind of smiling like, yeah, you're the crypt keeper. You've been here for 25 years or something, and you haven't done anything. Nothing. You've let it happen. I've been here for 7 months, and you're bitching at me. And I love, again, just like J.D. Vance and Trump before him and now Rfkjr, we're not taking it anymore. See, what you're seeing is the face of winners. You are seeing people who realize at this point, we're winning. And obviously, they know more than we know. They know what's happening behind the scenes. So if you can see this kind of confidence exuding from these people, we've seen it from Trump, and you've seen it from now JD and a couple times, and you're seeing it from Marco Rubio, and you're seeing it from Pete Hegseth, and you're seeing it from Pam Bondi, and you're seeing it from Kristi Noem, and now you're seeing it from Rfkjr Jr. Something should tell you, Tulsi Gabbard. This is the no shit patrol. I don't care what you have to say. You're done. You've been here 25 years sucking off the people's money, and you haven't done anything. I got nothing to say to you.
Mortality has increased in our country. It's not because I came in here. It's because of what happened during the Biden administration that we're going to end.
I'm going to let Senator Wyden respond briefly to that, and then we're not going to go over like we just did.
This committee on a bipartisan basis.
Vision on opinion.
I don't get letters from thousands of people who are not political saying that this set of changes is going to damage American healthcare, and particularly these healthcare agencies, for decades to come. I don't get any letters.
Now that ploy used to work too. It no longer works. I get letters from all these people. Oh, Nancy told us about it. It's the wrap-up smear. Get them to complain, put it in the newspaper, and now there's all these people complaining. Well, you know what? There's 70 or 80 million of us. Obviously, you're not hearing from us. Who are you hearing from? Who are this manufactured letters that you keep talking about? This guy's got nothing. He's got no comeback to data. I got letters from people who are concerned. I don't give a crap. Take those letters and turn around and wipe something.
Well, you know, this is going to make a big difference forever. Yeah, maybe you're listening to a selective group of people.
Well, you get me.
Yeah, and I will.
Fine.
I will tell you what, Senator. I will put my mailbag against your mailbag.
They're not ready for this. They're so not ready for this. This is like the Chicago Bears of 1985. I don't care. This is like Muhammad Ali boxing. He's just calling you all kinds of names and calling you out to your face. I'll put my bag against your bag. See what we got. What do you got? Oh, I'm loving this. I get excited.
Got 30 seconds.
No safety
You can characterize it any way you want. I quoted them today. What I said was accurate. What you said were lies. You
are you saying, Senator,
moving the Titanic?
Senator, are you saying that the mRNA vaccine has never been associated with myocarditis or pericarditis in teenagers?
I am simply.
Is that what you're trying to tell us?
I am simply trying to say that the people that you have put on that panel, after firing the entire...
You're evading the question.
Huh? Did you see his face? Oh, it's priceless. You're evading the question. Huh? You interrupted me while I was talking a lot of bunk.
Asking the questions here,
You're
Mr.
evading
Kennedy.
that question.
I'm asking the questions, Mr. Kennedy. I'm asking the questions for Mr. Kennedy on behalf of parents and schools and teachers all over the United States of America who deserve so much better than your leadership.
I can't help it. He's reduced these people to snivelly, crying babies.
That's what this conversation is about,
Senator,
Mr. Chairman.
Senator, they deserve the truth, and that's what we're going to give them for the first time in the history of that agency.
They call that a mic drop. Right there. And he sat back. I don't hear you talking right now, bro. They didn't write the retort for me. In my book that I just closed in front of you, there was no script what I do if RFK Jr. smacks me upside the head. And when I got smacked upside the head, I was, there's nothing there. What do I say? I don't know.
And that's one of the reasons they're in trouble. President Trump has now allocated through the One Big Beautiful Bill $50 billion, so $10 billion a year over the next 5 years. What we give to rural hospitals, that 6% represents $19 billion a year. So we're increasing that by $10 billion. So we're infusing more than 50% increase in the amount of money that is going to rural communities over the next 5 years. There's never been anything like that in history. It is the biggest investment, and it should stem this hemorrhage.
Well, thank you. I appreciate your giving clarity to that, because it is frustrating to see these continuous allegations that the difficulties that our rural hospitals are facing all were created in the last few months when we passed a bill, when we've been holding hearings in this committee about these problems. And in the bill that we passed, we gave a $50 billion boost to, as you indicated, increase by 50% the federal support for our community rural hospitals in the United States.
And by that way, the agonal breathing you hear is one of those senators left his microphone open and I'm like, dudes, wake up, get the defibrillator.
States. And I think that the hospital owners understand that. They recognize this support. In fact, they are coming they're coming together very carefully with Dr. Oz to work on the rollout of this program so that we can see this boost and this support that is coming. Just another one of the disagreements we have about what really was in.
Most popular of all the key officials that we have recent polling on. Pete Hegseth, his net favorable minus 14 points. J.D. Vance, minus 11. Marco Rubio, minus 10. RFK Jr. is at minus 7, but minus 7 beats minus 10, beats minus 11, beats minus 14. So, no, RFK Jr. is not a drag on President Trump. He's not the most embattled. In fact, he is the most popular official in Trump's cabinet, at least according to the polling.
It is interesting, though there have been calls for his resignation among some people in the CDC, but this was surprising to me to see these poll numbers here, which is why I welcomed the fact check from you. Another thing in the news has to do with Florida, where they're trying to overturn all vaccine mandates, including vaccine mandates in school for children. What do the polls tell us about that?
Okay, this to me is one...
All right, got to correct him. He doesn't understand. They're not trying to overturn. It's done. It's already been an executive order by DeSantis. No more mandatory jabs. There's nothing to overturn. He is the governor. He's the president of Florida. And the, what do you call it? The attorney general came out. The attorney general, what do you call it? What's the health guy? Whatever. The head honcho in medicine in Florida said, nope, we're done. In fact, I'll see while they're talking if I can pull that video down.
The most interesting and, in my opinion, most troubling trend lines that we have seen. Okay, vax kids against infectious diseases, the government should require it. You go back to 1991, it was 81%, okay? Then we go to 2019 at 62%. Look at where that number fell to by 2024. It was just 51%. That is a 30-point drop from 34 years ago. My goodness gracious, now a bare majority say that the government should in fact require kids to be vaccinated against infectious diseases. Amongst Republicans, it's the opposite. The majority say the government shouldn't require it. Now I should point out this does depend a little bit on question wording. The polling out this morning says that the government should encourage it, but encourage it is very different from requiring it. And when it comes to requiring it, the American public has become increasingly skeptical of the idea that, in fact, the government should require kids to be vaccinated against infectious diseases.
And I want you here to talk about the political environment surrounding the health apparatus in this country right now, because I'm about to talk to David Urban, our friend David Urban, Republican, who I guarantee you is going to say something to the effect of that there's no trust anymore, or the trust has fallen among public officials when it comes to health.
Yeah, this to me, if you're a public health official, this is perhaps the most worrying statistic that you should see. Look at this. Look at this. How well masks and vaccines limit COVID. Public health officials lied. They lied. In 2022, it was 45%. Look at where that number is now.
55%. And that's a CNN poll, so it's probably low. 55% of people went, y'all lied. This did not work. We're never going back. It's done. That control that you tried to, well, you did enforce on so many people and have brain damage so many other people, people don't believe it anymore. You're liars. Everything about you people are liars. I did find the video from the Surgeon General of the state of Florida. Listen.
But what I'm most excited about is an announcement that we're going to make, that we're making now, which is that the Florida Department of Health, in partnership with the governor, is going to be working to end all vaccine mandates in Florida law. All of them. All of them. All of them. Every last one of them.
All is superlative. It means everything. Everything. That's what DeSantis is doing down here. He's going to be the model for other states to follow. Nothing mandatory. If you don't want to take it, don't take it. If you do want to take it, take it. It's up to you. Not telling you you can't. Nothing is mandatory, as it should be. We should be adults. We should be informed enough to make our own decisions. And we should entrust that the people who we've put in charge are giving us the right information so we can make an informed decision. You see, if we're not lied to, and if we have the information that's correct, it's very easy to make your own decision. It's only when they lie to you and keep you in the dark that people say, well, you don't know enough to even make a decision. I'm the so-and-so person. I can make it for you. And I've got 100 letters that say it's the right thing. Just give me the actual data. Tell me how this works, but it doesn't work when I'm eating. It doesn't make any sense. And so DeSantis down here, which I hope your state follows, is like, no, we're not going to make anything mandatory.
Yeah. Every last one of them. All of them.
Oh, and by the way, you libtards, if there are any trolls in here, before you say anything, I don't know if you could tell, but he's black. So, kind of hard to be racist, isn't it?
Every last one of them. Every last one of them is wrong and drips with disdain and slavery. Okay? Who am I as a government, or anyone else, or who am I as a man standing here now to tell you what you should put in your body? Who am I to tell you what your child should put in your body? I don't have that right. Your body is a gift from God. What you put into your body, is because of your relationship with your body and your God. I don't have that right. Government does not have that right. They want you to believe they have that right. And unfortunately, they've been successful.
That's exactly it. Government doesn't have that right. They've made you believe that they do. Now, somebody asked me a question, says, Barry, what about the jabs for children having to go to school? What about them? If you want it, go do it. Because if you believe it and you think it's going to work, then you shouldn't worry about if little Sally doesn't have it. Because you got the jab. So if you're like, wait a minute, I really need my kids to be jabbed for measles and mumps and whatever else, polio. If you believe that, then you are protecting your child, right? If somebody else has a child and they go, I don't want to protect them, doesn't affect what you do, because that's why you're taking the jab. You're taking the jab to make sure if little snotty Gregory is in school, that it won't affect your child, because you know what? Because we got the jab. So that question by itself, and I'm not saying anything wrong, Dale, that question by itself is now a question that parents have to look themselves in the mirror. And they have to say, I am going to give my child this because it's going to keep them from getting it. Right? That's what you believe. That's what your question is. What about that? Okay, so my child got stuck, which means they're good. So what are you worried about Greg for? Little Gregory, snot-nosed Gregory, who was playing with dirt and everything else, his parents said he doesn't need it. He touches grass, he's outside, he's fine. And you don't have to worry because your child got the jab. You believe in the jab, right? So you believe in the jab, you're covered. You put the iron dome around your child. That's the reason you took it. Don't worry about Gregory's parents. That's what you're saying. What about the other kids? And what the Surgeon General and what Ron are saying is, it's none of your business what Gregory gets. Because you're protected. You've bought in, you firmly believe, right or wrong, that thing that you're sticking your kid with is going to keep them from getting it. So then, you're fine. There's no reason to question snot-nosed Gregory. His parents may be doing the wrong thing. Maybe Gregory ends up getting the measles. I don't know. Your child can't because you elected to do this. Elected. You chose to. So that's the answer to that question right there. Carol goes, amen. Yeah. The question alone is what is the issue. People who believe in it, which one it is, the one from the 19 and everything else, if you believe it, then you're putting on the cloak of protection. You're done. You're fine. If Gregory's mom is stupid, it's sort of like, we believe in a God we can't see. And liberals say, hey, you're up there praying to the cloud god again, aren't you? Yep, that's what we're doing. I believe in Jesus. Oh, it's so fun. Hey, you don't have to. But it shouldn't bother you that I believe in Jesus. You go believe in what you want to believe. I'll believe what I want to believe. I'll pray for you. But nonetheless, it's a personal choice. See, we've been under the arm bootstrap of the government for so long, many of us don't remember personal choice. Every time you leave your house, I'm trying to get the office ready and we're going back and forth and I have to go make sure the cables that work, all kinds of different things. And when you leave the house, the very first thing I see as I'm turning, there's a stop sign. Don't go. Something is telling me that's not even there, just don't go. And then once you look around, you drive, and then there's a stoplight. And that stoplight has 3 different colors in a tree. And this one color tells you when you can do what you need to do. And so once you see that, you're allowed to proceed. Government has been so much of a boot on our neck, we now don't realize what to do with the freedom. I bet you, I really do believe this, that if we were to have the income tax dissolved, there would be a certain part of the population that would freak out. They've been conditioned like lab rats to pay taxes every April 15th. They wouldn't know what to do. They would be freaking out, not because they have more money, but because I need to give this to the government. Why? Why do you feel that way? Because you've been conditioned like a lab rat. Every April 15th, either file the papers or get an extension. Do something. No one's told you otherwise. No one has ever said to people, did you know? Maybe perhaps it's not the best of ideas to keep paying this. Oh, no, I cannot believe you're saying that. I've said it here many a times. To avoid income taxes is encouraged. To evade income taxes is criminal. Avoid as much as you possibly can. Use every single aspect of the law to avoid paying more taxes. People in the know understand that. President Trump told you, I can't believe you haven't paid taxes. That makes me smart. He said that at the debate, and the people like cringed. Oh my God, he's not paying his fair share. No, I'm paying what I'm supposed to. Nothing. Why? Because that's the law. And people can't comprehend that. Oh, it's not, he's not paying his fair share. He's not paying enough. Who says it? The law is what I have to follow. If the law says I don't have to do this if I declare that, all right, well, I'm going to do that. I guarantee you there would be I can't tell you the number, but I do guarantee you that if we didn't have to pay income taxes, there'd be a certain segment of the population that wouldn't know what to do. They would completely freak out. It makes no sense, but that's a Democrat for you. Yes, Dash and Lever says, fellas, we are so winning. Yes.
We're going to win so much, you may even get tired of winning. And you'll say, please, please, it's too much winning. We can't take it anymore. Mr. President, it's too much. And I'll say, no, it isn't. We have to keep winning. We have to win more. We're going to win more.
All right, so I'm going to bounce here because I got to go meet Robin and see where we are with all the stuff that we had to do. And I'm going to try and get to 7:30, but I'll promise this: by 6 o'clock, I'll post a banner if we're going live, if I can get there. But in any event, thank you very much for tuning in. But this is a great time to be alive, an absolutely fantastic time to be alive. You know what? It's very unsettling for a lot of people because it's different. We haven't seen this. We haven't seen this in our life. And it's catching people by surprise. And I didn't mean anything negative to the woman who says, what about the other kids? Because I realize that's probably reflex. Well, what about their kids? What about them? And hopefully when she read that, she was like, yeah, because you don't realize it. You don't realize what freedom is like if you've never experienced freedom. That's the same reason I talk about prosperity so much. I'm not Joel Osteen saying money's going to fall out of the sky. I'm just saying there's stuff out there you can do, and here's what you can do and how you can do it. And you can get mad at me. Some people get mad at me for saying you can do it. The reason they're upset is because they never did it. And when you haven't experienced true freedom, you don't know what outside the cage looks like. And I just want to encourage as many people to look outside the cage as possible. Even if you think you're not living in a cage, there's something somewhere that could be binding you from stepping out and enjoying everything. I see it. I see the videos. I showed it yesterday. I work all the time. I got nothing at the end of the week. Me and my husband both work. And you're doing something wrong. I can't tell you what because I don't know your background, but you're doing something wrong. All right, so super chats. Okay, let me come over here. Oh, Gasworks, I think, did something. Gasworks. Oh, thank you very much. The swamp needed to be drained. If Republicans don't get on TV and state they are MAGA, they've got to go. Absolutely. I firmly believe that is something that has to happen, and thank you very, very much. And it's funny because it's 4:30. I'm going to get off, go talk to Robin, and I guarantee you there's going to be more news. And what you saw today, let me just stop for a second, was very interesting. Every day, I get up in the morning and I see what's Trump doing. Okay, what's Bondi doing? I check all their schedules. There's nothing going on, so let me go ahead. I've got Kevin from Lear coming out at 2:30. I'll go live at 2, and then everything blows up. Like, didn't y'all know what your schedule is going to look like? And they don't tell anybody. And so you got to be flexible and run. Now, one of the things, I haven't checked, but President Trump is hosting some sort of a dinner at 7:30. And as of right now, let me just check real quick. I've checked all the different streams to see if there's anything in there about it. I don't even know what the movie is. I don't know. I mean, that movie, who the dinner is. Let me just see something else here. 1 second. Who should I? Let me see if they've got anybody has a schedule for tonight. So as of right now, just to let you know, nobody I see has the dinner on tap to be shown tonight. So I don't know. But when I come back on, who knows? They might be showing it, and then you guys will get to see it. So I won't know until, I guess, they publish that it's going to be live. All right, so Dave Ratton, thank you. When the government tells you it's good for you, be afraid. Be very, very afraid. Agreed. Dave Ratton again, thank you. New York State was sticking chapstick sick in nursing homes, killing off the elderly. I feel for people who lost loved ones that way. Nicholas Lamonicus, Obama created this situation where you can't get rid of these rogue government employees. Man, we should have saw that coming. Janelle, thank you. Elizabeth Rfkjr, Biden-Harris, an entire Democrat administration should have to pay the cost of this entire illegal immigration cleanup mess. So much in resources that could be used for American citizens. I'm pretty sure if they roll out the trucks tonight, if the Humvees are on the street in Chicago, there's going to be a whole bunch of videos. So we might be able to pull some stuff in. Let me just check something real quick here on one of the feed sources and see if I've got anything lined up, because sometimes they do tell you it's coming and then you can pull in a feed. Let me see what's scheduled. So as of right now, there's nothing showing to be scheduled, but you never know when the news is going to break. CR may orchestrate to jail. Yeah, that's a scumbag. Lou Jack Martinez, they're going to start putting kids on those boats. You're probably right. To probably try and deter them getting vaporized, they're probably going to put kids. Wow, that's sad. Scary. Charmaine, Barry, I'm so thankful for President Trump and his cabinet. I agree. Lou Jack, a Trump rally in Chicago would be awesome. Absolutely awesome. Mary Boston, hi Barry, so much winning today for our great President Trump. We the real American people. Agreed. Lou Jack again, Drug Boat, Adam Schiff, Ryan, and Dem Lettersheet. Hey, you guys want to go on a yacht for an A? G. Fisher, great show, no teleprompter, it's time for Trump winning clip. Oh, played it, I'll play again. Thank you. Chapo, I get all my news from Barry. He's the only one who gives in-depth analysis and triple verifies if he's not reporting on it. You know, I don't like myself not knowing the truth. So it's kind of hard, when I hear, oh, exclusive, what happened there? where did that go? How did that happen? Hold on. And then the mods working in conjunction doing stuff too always helps. Okay, here we go. Dave again, that's why Canadians went to Ottawa in a giant convoy in 2022. No informed consent, just forcibly put upon us. I feel bad for the Canadians, real bad. And Penny Corridor, is something wrong when bureaucrats and Democrats want to force unproven medicine on Americans? Yeah, it's kind of like making people lab rats. Kind of sucks. All right, everybody, after party, and I will post what time I will be going live later. Thank you, guys.
you.